St. Jackson is investing $50 million to revitalize Shreveport, Louisiana. He's bought 20 properties and plans to launch Gianna Studios for film and TV. City officials hope the new 50-cent economic district will bring jobs and spark a downtown revival. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The city of Los Angeles is geared up to celebrate the Dodgers for the second straight year as World Series champions. A victory parade in downtown LA this morning will be followed by a rally at Dodger Stadium at 12:15. You must have a ticket to attend. A couple of final notes on the Dodgers. Their .203 batting average in the World Series is the lowest by a winning team in 59 years. The Baltimore Orioles batted only .200 to win the World Series in 1966. The Dodgers were also outscored by Toronto 34-26. Pitching does make a difference. It was a good day for both of LA's NFL teams. The Rams beat New Orleans 34-10. 4 touchdown passes for Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, 2 to Devontae Adams. The Rams are 6-2. The Chargers beat Tennessee 27-20. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert had 250 yards passing, 57 yards rushing, and 2 touchdown passes. The Chargers are 6-3. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you missed the recent Left Coast Forum, then you really missed out. An insightful presentation from Professor Richard Wolff, a call to action from LA Mayor Karen Bass, an insider's view on Prop 50 and the government shutdown from Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, and as usual, Dr. Cornel West brought down the House with a powerful closing keynote. And many of the plenary sessions were standing room only. Check out our social media posts for photos and video of what you missed at the Left Coast Forum and make plans to attend one of our upcoming events. Our next Altadena Town Hall is Thursday, November 6th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena. We're going to interrogate SoCal Edison's settlement fund and see what's really going on with this fire recovery program. And our KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair is Saturday, November the 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here in Lamert Park at Catch at Audubon Middle School. All the details about these upcoming events can be found at our website, kbla1580.com. So thanks again to all those who supported the Left Coast Forum, and a special thanks to our partners this year. The LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Partnership for Growth, UTLA, LA Care Health Plan, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and the Liberty Hill Foundation. Live from historic Lamert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. It's Monday, so up first, it's Smiley and West. Dr. Cornell West is here with plenty to unpack today on election eve. And since it is election eve, on the B side of hour two, we're going to crisscross the country today and check in with folk who are actually on the ballot tomorrow in Minnesota, in Texas, and in Ohio. We will start in Cleveland with Mayor Justin Bibb on the backside of hour two. In our third hour, two more conversations. Up first, a conversation with Joel Berg, CEO of Hunger Free America, about President Donald Trump's steadfast opposition to feeding 42 million poor and working Americans. He dug his heels in last night on 60 Minutes. And so we'll talk to Joel Berg about why Donald Trump just refuses to relent on feeding 42 million precious, poor, and working Americans. That on the B side. I'm sure on the top side, I should say, the top side of hour three. And then we'll close today's show on the back side of hour three with a comedian on the come up. His name is Jay Jordan. We'll talk about his debut comedy special, Yes Ma'am, now streaming on Hulu, his recent appearance on The Tonight Show, and his current Nothing Special tour. So after all the political drama today, we got our laugh on for the last 30 minutes with comedian Jay Jordan. But in this first hour, two more conversations. On the B side of this hour, we'll travel down to Houston, Texas, and talk to Amanda Edwards, the leading candidate in the special election for the storied 18th Congressional District. This is the seat once held by Mickey Leland, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Sylvester Turner. But first, we travel to St. Paul, Minnesota, for a conversation with Mayor Melvin Carter, a black progressive pro-reparations leader seeking re-election tomorrow. Mayor Carter, good to have you on the program. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
It's my pleasure. How are you feeling the day before election?
You know, we're feeling really strong. We've had a great volunteer turnout, good, strong fundraising numbers, and just trying to make sure we push all the way through the finish line here.
What's it like having been, or being, I should say, a mayor, a black mayor, a progressive mayor, in a moment like this?
You know, that's exactly the question. I've been joking with folks. I tell my wife every day I have the best job on the planet, and she looks up and says, "Well, you picked the wrong 8 years to do it," because I've been mayor, through obviously this Trump presidencies, through the murder of George Floyd, which happened not far away from this city, all the civil unrest we experienced after, the opioid crisis and the spike nationally in homelessness and things like that. We've been through a whole lot together. The great thing about this city is a beautiful place that knows that we got to take care of the basics. We're proud of our public safety work. We brought gun violence down, Tavis, by 70% in this city, and we're on pace for nearly a 20-year low in homicides in our community. But then we're also doing the work to try to figure out how to take care of people, whether that's, protecting immigrants and refugees in our communities, or being the first city to use public funds to pilot a guaranteed income. So our community likes all of that stuff. So it's been a challenge, the hardest job I've ever had, but also a beautiful experience.
You said a few things I want to give you a chance to unpack right quick. Let me start with gun violence coming down. I was about to ask, what's the trick to bringing down gun violence? Trick is the wrong word. So tell me what the hard work is like. How do you creatively bring down gun violence by that number in the 70th percentile, no less?
No, I appreciate that. I tell folks a lot of times that, our work centers around treating a whole city like a family. And when you have family, you combine accountability with care. And so, one of the things that we did a couple of years ago, St. Paul's always been proud that we have over a 90% solve rate for homicides. But when I became mayor, we had just right around a 20% case clearance rate for non-fatal shootings. And so this is a joke that I make with folks, and not everybody up here in Minnesota gets it, but I tell folks, if somebody in our city gets shot in their pinky toe, you're going to see our St. Paul police officer respond as though it was a homicide. I share with some folks that one of my favorite movies as a kid, a character got shot in her pinky toe. And I like to see who laughs and who doesn't.
Yeah.
So we've been able to take that 20% case clearance rate for non-fatal shootings and turn that up higher than 70%. Most cities, you don't have a lot of people that shoot. You have a few people who shoot a lot. And so if you catch them in May, they don't get to shoot in July or August. And so that's how we've been able to kind of take gun violence down. The other piece of it, though, my father wrote a book about his own life. He's a retired St. Paul police officer. And when he was 25, he had his two of his twin cousins, two of his cousins, who his best friends in life, were killed in a double homicide here in St. Paul. And he wrote about looking for them, getting a gun and looking for the shooter. And he said it seemed like the guy just disappeared.
Hmm.
And decades later, we found out that my grandfather had reached out to the guy's father and paid for the other guy's bus ticket out of town because he knew that his son lived in a community ecosystem, and to save one, you had to save both of them. And so we've gotten a lot better at this. And you're going to talk to Justin Bibb later, I know, who is one of the best in the country at leading around like public systems that take advantage and have those people who know how to intervene, have those people who know how to relocate somebody so that we de-escalate situations, so that we're not constantly just chasing crime after something terrible happens. We can finally get on the front end and prevent it from happening in the first place.
There's a great deal more to talk to Mayor Melvin Carter about. As we're talking about gun violence, he mentioned George Floyd just happened down the road, St. Paul and Minneapolis, connected, as you know. But I want to go right back to St. Paul and go to Falcon Heights specifically to talk about Philando Castile. We all recall that name. You heard the mayor say his father was a longtime St. Paul, Minnesota police officer. But I'm wondering how this city has rebounded or is trying to move forward past that horrific murder of Philando Castile in the car with his wife, I believe, and one or two kids. We know that story well. So we'll talk about Philando Castile. You also heard him mention this pilot program that they did in St. Paul, a guaranteed income program. A lot of ink that pilot program has received around the country. A lot of people watching St. Paul to see how this guaranteed income program works. I'll let him explain that as well. He's on the ballot tomorrow, but he's on Tavis Smiley today. You're listening to Mayor Melvin Carter of St. Paul, Minnesota on Tavis Smiley.
Interrogating and unpacking.
That's what we do around here.
You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
California, this is your moment. The special election is November 4th, and your vote helps decide your future, your community, and your state. Drop your ballot at a secure drop box. Visit an early vote center or mail it. Your participation powers democracy. Every ballot makes a difference. Tell a friend to do the same. Sign up at where'smyballot.sos.ca.gov to track your ballot. Make your voice count. Don't delay. Vote today. A message from the California Secretary of State.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33 and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yay, yay!
Hollywood Megan Good, Michael Hyatt, Golden Brooks, Ty Burrell, Christine Devine. They're all coming together on Saturday, November 1st at Paramount Picture Studios for the Kids Film Awards, a red carpet celebration of young filmmakers from right here in Los Angeles. Presented by Kids in the Spotlight. The Kids Film Awards showcase original short films written, cast, and performed by local youth. Powerful stories across every genre, from drama and comedy to action and suspense. It's a night that blends Hollywood energy with real community spirit, highlighting the future voices of film. These are the next generation of storytellers stepping onto one of Hollywood's biggest stages. Come out and experience a night filled with film, music, and inspiration, where creativity, community, and purpose meet. Tickets are available now at kitsinc.org. That's KITSINC.org. The 2025 Kids Film Awards, Saturday, November 1st at Paramount Picture Studios. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Freedom is an endless meeting So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Mayor Melvin Carter, Mayor of St. Paul, Minnesota, on the ballot tomorrow. We're running all across the country today, from Minnesota to Ohio to Texas, talking to people who are literally on the ballot tomorrow in these grim times. And African Americans who happen to be more progressive in their politics, trying to make their way in the world. So, Mayor Carter, you mentioned your father was a longtime member of the St. Paul Police Department. My mind immediately went to Philando Castile. You mentioned George Floyd. And St. Paul, Minneapolis, right next door to each other, and both of these stories made huge international news. Take me back to that Philando Castile moment and how you and the city processed that, and how do you think the city, I don't want to say has recovered, but how has the city continued to advance beyond this horrific murder that the whole nation was talking about?
Yeah, that was horrible. And so you mentioned earlier that happened in one of our neighboring suburbs. That was not St. Paul police or inside our city limits, but
Sure.
it was like across the street, essentially, right
Right.
across the street from our
Mhm.
city. And Philando was from St. Paul. He was from our community. He graduated from high school with my younger sister. And actually, the school that he worked at, lots of folks have talked about him being a cafeteria school worker,
Mhm.
is where my daughters went to kindergarten. He was very much a member of community. And, as the world opened and closed this hashtag of a name, Philando Castile, we were still in community here trying to explain to our children, our young children, what happened to Mr. Phil. And so that's something that absolutely continues to resonate. It happened while I was running, like
Mhm.
actually right as I was running for mayor. And it ended up being a centerpiece of kind of the body of work that we brought forward in office. I shared with folks at the beginning, my father was he was one of the first African American St. Paul police officers after a court case required us to integrate our police department.
Mhm.
And I tell some folks, Tavis, that, and they don't always get it, I tell them that my dad received the same kind of red carpet treatment that a lot of those early integrators received. Of course, that wasn't a welcome.
Sure.
That was a real hostility. And so I went from, knowing those black officers that my dad came on the force with, they were at the Super Bowl parties and the fight nights and all those types of things, to turning 16. And I tell folks I met a whole lot more police officers when I turned 16 and started driving around this community. And so all that to say, in my first 100 days, one of our top priorities was completely ripping up and completely rewriting the use of force policies that govern our police department. And we're proud of the work that we've done in that sense. We've seen injuries, we've seen use of force incidents with officers way down. We've seen injuries to officers and civilians way down. We actually put our canine unit on pause for a year. In the 2 years before I became elected mayor, we had 55 dog bites by police canines. In the last 7 years, I don't think we've had more than 3 in any one year. We've been able to bring that way, way, way down. And that's a part of the public safety outcomes that I mentioned to you at the front,
Mhm.
because at the core, like if people don't trust our police officers, they won't tell them the things they need to know to be able to solve crime in community. So that works together for all of us.
Yep. You mentioned court cases. I want to talk about one in specific, or let you talk about it, one in particular. Your city joined this lawsuit against the Trump administration over
That's right.
DHS and FEMA grant conditions. I'll let you explain that. But I asked at the top of this conversation with Mayor Carter, what's it like trying to govern in the era of Donald Trump? Here again, his city is one of those cities that sued the Trump administration. Tell me more, Mayor.
We did, and the truth is, that's our third lawsuit against the Trump administration. We've already
You
successfully
say that
won.
with pride. It's our third time doing
Oh,
this. Yeah.
no doubt. And we've won injunctions in the first two already, because they're
Right.
trying to defund American cities. And to be clear, they're not even trying to defund their immigration work. I get it. If I'm not willing to work with you on immigration, you're not going to fund me on immigration. We can live with that. But they're trying to defund the work, the resources that we use to get lead out of our water for children, to provide youth jobs. They're defunding the money that cities use to hire police officers. You talk about defunding the police. That's what this administration is doing, more so than any other elected office ever has. And so, the main point about those dollars right now, we have about $200 million that are somewhere in the queue that are supposed to come from the federal government to this city.
Mm.
But it's important to note that our residents, our businesses, send billions of dollars in income and business taxes to the federal government every year. So when they say we don't get a chance to participate, in the funding of the federal government that we provide so deeply to. I imagine those folks who threw tea into the sea back in the 1700s wouldn't stand for that. So we would tell folks we won't either. So yes, this is our third lawsuit. We're going to hold them accountable and not allow them to do these like unconstitutional threats against and try to hold cities hostage. And I'll tell you, one of my next lawsuits is this, and LA is the leader where this is concerned. We had one of the former speakers of the Minnesota House, Melissa Hortman,
Oh, yes.
was murdered, was assassinated just this June by a gunman who was wearing a mask and presenting himself as law enforcement. So when we see ICE out here wearing masks and not showing a badge, not showing a uniform, not showing a warrant, and just presenting themselves as law enforcement, I don't know how we're supposed to know the difference between a law enforcement officer legally carrying out a lawful order and some renegade, person in community. So that's one of our next lawsuits that we're preparing right now to say, and again, LA County, LA has already successfully done this by challenging the LA area ICE office, but you can't operate in our community like that. That goes against the fabric of the covenant that we have between our communities and law enforcement.
The goal, the end and aim of that particular lawsuit is to do what exactly?
The one about masks?
Yes, yes.
Is to require them to wear masks in our community. I'm sorry, to require them to show their face, right? Not to wear masks,
right?
To demonstrate a badge, to show a warrant if requested, those types of things, so that we can maintain the trust that has to exist between law enforcement and community members.
Yep. So this guaranteed income program you mentioned a moment ago, I
Yes,
read
sir.
a whole lot about this pilot program there in St. Paul that others have been looking at and trying to see
Yeah.
if they can emulate in their cities. So tell me more about that program.
It's one that we're really excited about. Tavis, we're 60 years into a war on poverty. I don't know anybody that would say we're winning. And the reason I think we're not winning is because we never took the time to figure out what poverty really was, right? Somewhere along the line, every single one of your listeners, somebody told them that, if you give poor people money, they'll just spend it on drugs and alcohol. And when they told us that, we believed it, but they never showed us a study. They never said this many standard deviations. They never said, here's the authors who proved it in this research project. We just all believed that. And the lies that we've believed about poverty has ultimately narrowed down to that people are poor because they lack character. When in fact, by definition, people are just poor because when they don't have money. And so we were the first city to use public funds to launch a guaranteed income pilot. The first city to launch a guaranteed income pilot was Stockton, California, under Mayor Michael Tubbs. And so he and I jointly launched this organization called Mayors for a Guaranteed Income. So since Stockton was first and St. Paul was second, we have over 5 dozen cities who've followed our footsteps in this. Given and over the since the beginning of the pandemic, through this network, we distributed over $350 million in unconditional cash payments to thousands of low-income American families. And we've done it, unlike the folks who criticize this stuff. We've done it with evaluation. Like my kids would say, Tavis, I have the receipts. So I can tell you in city after city, when low income folks have money, 90% of it goes to basic necessities, less than 1% of it goes to vices. And low income families use, when they have more money, they use it as an opportunity to work less, not as an excuse to work. I'm sorry, they use it as an opportunity to work more, not as an excuse to work less. One of our pilots in South Carolina targeted their resources to low income single dads, a lot African American low income single dads. And they gave low income single dads money, unconditional, no conditions. You can spend it on anything you want. And 60% of it went straight to child support. That's not the trope that we've believed. That's not what we've been told about low income African American single fathers.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, this is about putting families in the driver's seat, letting those families have agency and control of their lives, and the outcomes that we're getting are astounding.
We're going to talk later in this program, as you may have heard me say at the top of the show, specifically with Joe Berg about these snap cuts and Donald Trump, again, just digging his heels in last night in opposition to this in that interview on 60 Minutes. Is this opposition, this government shutdown, going to hurt St. Paul? In what ways will it hurt the residents of St. Paul when it comes to these SNAP programs specifically?
There's no one in this country that this shutdown won't hurt. And it's so evil spirited. And it's the opposite of what I said we're trying to do, which is invest directly and provide people agency. When you have a federal government who threatens and who are sending troops to lay siege to American cities, when you have a federal government that has to be challenged in court just to use money that's already earmarked, that's already dedicated to feeding children, and say you have to use this funding to feed children. Like it's just astounding. I tell folks all the time, city governments, whether it's St. Paul or Cleveland or anywhere else, and Mayor Bibb is a good friend of mine, so please tell him hello when he's on.
Will do.
But you know, when the federal government fails to do something or refuses to do something, whether that's sensible gun violence reform or the trillions of dollars that every American knows that we need on housing, local communities end up struggling to pick up the pieces. And so those families are gonna be somewhere. So I'm actually going, after we hang up, I'm gonna go to one of our food donation sites and thank the volunteers for helping us collect food in our communities. We're the richest civilization in the history of the planet, and we're collecting food for people.
Yeah.
That's unacceptable, and as a direct result of our own president's refusal to feed folks with the tax dollars that we've entrusted Washington D.C. with to feed folks. It's horrible, and yes, it's gonna impact us greatly. But we are, and Mayor Bibb and mayors around the country are gonna do what local communities always do, and that's figure out how to take care of our neighbors.
I got 4 minutes left before we hang up, and you get to get in your car and head to the next stop. Tell me quickly about the St. Paul Reparations Commission.
Absolutely. We launched a commission a couple of years ago, working with our city council to just explore this conversation about reparations. And the phase that we're in right now is, launching a study to say, what is the nexus and what is the what is the demonstrable nexus between the city government and the institution of American slavery. We know that institution shaped the economy for all of us. So we're looking forward to seeing that study, but we're not waiting for it either. St. Paul, like every other city in the country, every other major city in the country, had a neighborhood, a thriving African American neighborhood in St. Paul. It was called Rondo. That was uprooted to build a freeway. And when I-94 is the freeway that goes straight through the heart of our community, when that was built, it uprooted 700 African American family homes. My grandparents included. My grandparents owned about a half a dozen commercial properties on Rondo. That was our street, and got uprooted, got given pennies for the dollar. And long story short, I don't own over a half a dozen commercial properties today. So we launched this program we call the Inheritance Fund a couple of years ago. That I don't think anybody around the country is doing anything like it. We offer up to $110,000 in fully forgivable city financing to help low-income descendants of old Rondo rebuild their family inheritance and rebuild their family wealth through home ownership, whether that's buying a new home or renovating an existing one. And this was a part of our strategy that we launched through this college savings account, or through our Office of Financial Empowerment that we started my first year in there in office, to help like actively build wealth in this community and expand the number of our residents who know how to make money work well for them. So we've distributed, we've done like millions of dollars in this right now, and it's a strategy we're going to continue to double down on.
Back to your wife's comment that you may have the best job in America, but you chose the worst time to do it. Have you thought about, have you ever imagined how things might have been different had the governor of your state been the vice president with Kamala Harris instead of J.D. Vance and Donald Trump?
Every single day, Tavis. Every single day. I sure would have loved to see Vice President Harris become President Harris. And, our governor is a really close partner. We've been in a lot of foxholes together through all the crises that we've experienced over the past several years. And I think he would have made a fantastic vice president. Here we are, and I'm fortunate that at least I still get to count on him as a partner in the governor's office.
Tim Walz. I got 60 seconds left here. Last question. Not asking whether you're endorsing or not. That's not my point. My question simply is, with the country talking about this mayor's race in New York City tomorrow with a bona fide progressive on the ballot, as a progressive mayor, how are you watching that particular race?
It's really intriguing. It's really interesting. And we have this conversation, I think, in New York. We have this conversation in St. Paul. We have this conversation in LA and everywhere around the country. It's a microcosm of when Trump says that our goal is to make America great again. Obviously, he's saying that the country's high point was behind us, which is a really cynical view of somebody who says they love America.
Right.
I think we have the same thing that plays out in cities across the country where, I tell folks every day, like, I love this city. I grew up in St. Paul, and I love the city that I grew up in the 80s and the 90s. And I'm 100% sure that if I wake up every morning committed to maintaining all of the systems, all the structures, all the policies, and all the practices that we had in the 80s and 90s, my grandchildren won't know this city because my children will leave. They won't love it. We got to be about like breaking the precedents. We got to be about establishing the new precedents and the new policies and the new practices. And it feels like we have I've become convinced that the real battle isn't right versus left.
Sure.
It's those who are kind of comfortable with the way things are, and those who just are pushing to move something forward, to move something different.
Yeah.
And I think it's a healthy conversation to have. My hope is that we don't just sort of shrink back into our corners, but that we actually do the hard work of having that conversation. There are some things that we did in the 80s that we should keep doing now, but we shouldn't do them because we did them that way in the 80s. We should do it because we look at it fresh and say, this is what makes the most sense today, too.
Yeah. He's got to put his skates back on. I'm going to sit here for another 2.5 hours and conduct more conversation. Speaking of Mondami, amongst the other things that Donald Trump said last night on 60 Minutes, he called him a communist. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the program. Mayor Carter, all the best tomorrow on the election. Good to have you on the program. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thanks so much for having me on.
My appreciation to you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
For all the freedom-loving folk, this is Tavis Smiley.
I feel like freedom.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump is urging Senate Republicans to end the filibuster to break the government shutdown.
I think we should do the nuclear option. This is a totally different nuclear, by the way. It's called ending the filibuster.
In a 60 Minutes interview, he blamed Democrats for blocking votes and said he's ready to work on health care once the government reopens. President Trump is threatening military action against Nigeria over the killing of Christians. He halted all U.S. aid and ordered the Pentagon to prepare for a fast, vicious strike if the violence continues. Nigeria denies religious persecution claims. And Jabari Baby Huey Henley, son of music exec and alleged leader of the Rolling 60s Crips, Eugene Big U Henley Jr., was shot and killed outside a South LA smoke shop on Halloween night. LAPD says he approached a vehicle and was gunned down. The suspect fled and no arrests have been made. Jabari was 34. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The city of Los Angeles is geared up to celebrate the Dodgers for the second straight year as World Series champions. A victory parade in downtown LA this morning will be followed by a rally at Dodger Stadium at 12:15. You must have a ticket to attend. A couple of final notes on the Dodgers. Their .203 batting average in the World Series is the lowest by a winning team in 59 years. The Baltimore Orioles batted only .200 to win the World Series in 1966. The Dodgers were also outscored by Toronto 34-26. Pitching does make a difference. It was a good day for both of LA's NFL teams. The Rams beat New Orleans 34-10. 4 touchdown passes for Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, 2 to Devontae Adams. The Rams are 6-2. The Chargers beat Tennessee 27-20. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert had 250 yards passing, 57 yards rushing, and 2 touchdown passes. The Chargers are 6-3. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
If you missed the recent Left Coast Forum, then you really missed out. An insightful presentation from Professor Richard Wolff, a call to action from LA Mayor Karen Bass, an insider's view on Prop 50 and the government shutdown from Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove, and as usual, Dr. Cornel West brought down the House with a powerful closing keynote. And many of the plenary sessions were standing room only. Check out our social media posts for photos and video of what you missed at the Left Coast Forum and make plans to attend one of our upcoming events. Our next Altadena Town Hall is Thursday, November 6th, 4 to 6 p.m. at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena. We're going to interrogate SoCal Edison's settlement fund and see what's really going on with this fire recovery program. And our KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair is Saturday, November the 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here in Lamert Park at Catch at Audubon Middle School. All the details about these upcoming events can be found at our website, kbla1580.com. So thanks again to all those who supported the Left Coast Forum, and a special thanks to our partners this year: the LA Progressive, the Empowerment Congress, Community Coalition, Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Partnership for Growth, UTLA, LA Care Health Plan, Black Progressive Action Coalition, St. John's Community Health, the National Lawyers Guild, the Weingart Foundation, and the Liberty Hill Foundation.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580, standing with you in perilous times. If you've been impacted by the federal government shutdown or the discontinuation of SNAP benefits, you can find a food bank near you that's offering free groceries by going to lafoodbank.org or call 211. Additionally, LA County offers free meals at certain parks. There are meals and snacks for kids and seniors. Visit parks.lacounty.gov to find out which centers are offering which programs and to register in advance. And in addition to offering 2 free meals per day for all students, the LA Unified School District provides weekend meal kits for its students by request. The meal kits can be picked up on Fridays at grab-and-go locations. Please visit lausd.org/Cafe LA. That's lausd.org/CAFELA. We keep us safe. We keep us provided for. We keep us connected. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed on election eve. I told you we were going to crisscross the country today and check in with folk who are actually on the ballot in places like Minnesota and Ohio and Texas. And so we travel right now down to Houston, having just left St. Paul, Minnesota, to talk to Amanda Edwards, former city council member at large and the leading candidate in the special election for the storied 18th Congressional District. This is, as I said earlier, the seat once held by Mickey Leland, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Sylvester Turner. Amanda Edwards, good to have you on this program. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on.
It's my honor. Let me just ask you the same question I asked the mayor of St. Paul a moment ago, who's on the ballot there tomorrow. How are you feeling the day before Election Day?
You know, I'm feeling energetic. I'm feeling ready because this district, you know, as you have highlighted, has been served by legends like Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland and Craig Washington, Sheila Jackson Lee, and Sylvester Turner, who have been champions for justice. And it has been, by the time this is all said and done, this district has been without its voice, without its vote, without someone to advocate on its behalf for far too long, given the vacancies. And so I am very excited about seeing this community have its voice back and being a part of making sure that this next leg of the journey is one in which we fight for justice, but also that we can forge a path ahead. And that is what they are looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to as well.
I wonder if you might say a quick word, since you went there, about these tragedies. It was just too much for all of us to bear. I happen to know not only Mickey Leland, but Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner. I consider it a great honor to have known all three of them, interviewed them over the course of my career. But this district has been hit pretty hard. Sylvester Turner, of course, was the former mayor. He took that seat after Sheila Jackson Lee, and of course he passed away unexpectedly the day after that big speech by Donald Trump in the House that we all watched. And Sheila Jackson Lee, of course, contracted cancer and died of that. So it's been tough for this district, losing 2 notable representatives. Say a word about that, if you will, before I push forward here.
Absolutely. You know, this district, as has been stated, has been represented by legends. And to go from having such powerful voices for justice to being silenced for such a prolonged period of time is just egregious. This community is now reeling. It's mourning the loss of its leaders, but it's also mourning the loss of its voice. And in this period of time where we've had no vote, had no voice, when you count up, when you do the math, over a 24-year period, it will have been 18 months without that voice, without that vote. And some of the things that have taken place have just been egregious. For example, they held the seat open on purpose. Congressman Turner passed on March 5th of 2025. The special election could have been held on May the 3rd, but instead the seat was held open on purpose in order to allow that big beautiful bill to make $900 billion in Medicaid cuts, $300 billion in SNAP cuts. And if, of course, as you might recall, that House of Representatives vote on the first round, it only passed by a margin of one vote. Had I been in the seat at the time, we could have blocked the big, beautiful bill from having these devastating impacts. Same thing happened just a few months later in terms of more devastation stemming from the absence here, and that is the redistricting that has taken place. And of course, the 18th Congressional District is ground zero from that. So it was in the Department of Justice letter. It was subject to being diced and sliced. You know the adage, if you're not at the table, you're what's on the menu.
That's right.
They literally, this is an embodiment of that. And of course, it's gotten changed. And now, of course, there's been voter confusion stemming from it because many people believe that the newly drawn lines in the redistricting apply to the special election, which it does not. It only applies to the it only applies to the midterms in 2026. And so that message did not get shared as widely as it should have been. So I'm also sharing that message as people are now preparing to go out to the ballot booth on election day tomorrow.
So as you know, this program is syndicated, so you're being heard all across the country right now. And for that, I am grateful. But I sit in Los Angeles, and as you also know, we are trying to fix what y'all broke in Texas.
Yes.
Thank
you.
Yeah, well, it ain't over yet. It ain't over yet, Amanda. We'll see tomorrow. But tomorrow on our ballot here in California, we have Prop 50, and we will see if we can't pull this off to come to the rescue of the country and democracy, frankly, given what happened in Texas. So you know the frame that we're in. Just say another word, if you will, about the mess that all the rest of us are trying to clean up because what these Republicans did in Texas.
Yeah, I mean, what has happened is really literally opening up Pandora's box. This is not sustainable. You cannot change the goalposts midway through the game.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump recognized that he had the opportunity not only to try to change the direction that the midterms were happening, but also to silence and dilute the voting strength of Black and brown voices in Texas. You know, right now, you look at the demographics of the state of Texas, there are 39.6% of it is white. And yet, when you look at the congressional representation, it's at 74% that's white. So clearly, there's an issue with regard to the boundaries and the racial gerrymandering that takes place in Texas. And so with this endeavor, he was able to kill two birds with one stone and racially gerrymander these areas, and then also pick up additional Republican seats. And of course, we're very grateful that California has taken upon itself to try to even the score here, because at this point in time, our democracy is hanging in the balance. We cannot have this unfettered power and with no checks or no balances, no resistance, continue on for a president that does not respect the rule of law, that is fighting against healthcare, fighting against education, fighting against economic stability, just a very basic meat and potatoes issues he's fighting against. He wants us to be unstable. He wants to maintain power and control by creating this chaos. And we have to fight back. And I appreciate California and the efforts that have been extended to this moment, and hopefully the vote that will go in the right direction tomorrow, because we need this for the balance, for the battle for our country and our democracy. That's what this is about.
Yep. Before I push forward with more questions about issues, tell me about your backstory for those who may not know the name Amanda Edwards around the country, but certainly know the historical legacy of this seat. As you mentioned, Barbara Jordan and Sheila Jackson Lee and Mickey Lee, and just a long list of greats and iconic leaders who represented this 18th district. But say a quick word about your backstory.
Absolutely. So, I've been in this community for I was born, raised, and I still live in the 18th Congressional District. My family has been in the community for generations. In fact, Allison Leland, the wife of Mickey Leland, has endorsed my campaign. Her husband, the congressman, worked at my great uncle's shoe shop many years ago. So we have deep, deep roots in this community, and it's important to me that we get this right. When I was growing up, my father was diagnosed with something called multiple myeloma, which is a very aggressive form of cancer that took his life when I was a teen. But when I was watching my father endure all of that, I remember learning what our healthcare system was or wasn't by way of me asking my father questions like, what would happen if the insurance company, what if they said no to the life-saving treatments my dad needed? And I remember his answers. He would always just say to me, well, in that case, we would just have to figure something else out. And I knew then, just like I know today, 26 years later, that was the wrong answer. And the right answer should have been that we have systems in place that help save lives and keep families together. And so when I think about healthcare, when I think about economic opportunity, when I think about education, I think about the real lives that are lying in a balance. And that's been a motivator for me, is to put the people over the politics, and the impact has to come first. And I've been able to use that in my service journey as an at-large Houston City Council member. I've also served as a public finance attorney, bringing public dollars to public projects, which is a lot of what you do in Congress. And I happen to have worked in the Congressional District 18 office many years ago as my first job out of college, and working for the Congresswoman in DC. And so it's a very full circle moment for me, because I believe that this district has been without its voice, needs its voice back, but also needs its vision. Where are we heading? It's not good enough for us just to fight back against Trump and his attacks. We've got to fight for something. And I think we've got to put leaders in place who have a vision for this future of this country and this community. And so I'm very excited to have the support of just a widespread number of people across the district. And I know how important this is nationally, given that we've been ground zero for some of the fights that we just discussed.
Yep. More of her service journey when we come forward. She is Amanda Edwards, former city council member at large in Houston, the leading candidate for this 18th Congressional District. She mentioned being endorsed by Mickey Leland's widow a moment ago, but I also happen to know, because I saw it everywhere, that Miss Tina, yeah, that's right, Beyonce's mama, has gotten involved in this race and endorsed Amanda Edwards as well. So more to talk to her about when we come forward here on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
On Thursday evening, November 6th, you're invited to the next KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Town Hall meeting. This time, we're convening at Victory Bible Church, 1497 North Hill Avenue in Pasadena. The town hall will once again be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580 from 4 to 6 p.m. on Thursday, November 6th. But you're invited to join us in person for this urgent and necessary community conversation. The theme for this Altadena Eaton Canyon Fire Town Hall is Understanding the Wildfire Recovery Compensation Fund. The primary focus of this gathering is to inform residents about Southern California Edison's newly launched Wildfire Recovery Compensation Program and provide clarity on eligibility and the claims process. There are plenty of questions to be asked, and only KBLA Talk 1580 has the right moderators to ask the tough questions, the right stakeholders and community activists to share their insights, and we have confirmed the participation of corporate executives from Southern California Edison to answer our queries. So be sure to join us at Victory Bible Church in Pasadena, 1497 North Hill Avenue on Thursday, November 6th. The event is free and open to the public, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. That's KBLA1580.com. Light refreshments will be served immediately following the live town hall. This KBLA Talk 1580 Altadena Rising Town Hall is brought to you by the Black Freedom Fund.
Vote centers across Los Angeles County are open. Don't wait for Election Day. Vote early at any vote center near you. You can drop off your ballot, vote in person, or even register and vote the same day. Make your plan, make your voice heard, and make it count. Visit lavote.gov to find a vote center or official ballot drop box close to home. That's lavote.gov, your trusted source for voting in LA County.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up.
Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Amanda Edwards, who is the leading candidate for the congressional race, the special election tomorrow in Houston to fill the 18th Congressional District seat, once held, in case you've just tuned in, by Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland and Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner. Amanda Edwards could be the next person to sit in that seat. Let me just ask you, I mean, obviously you've thought about this because you're running. Just tell what you've imagined, how you've processed the dreams you've had, the goosebumps you've had, just thinking about sitting in a seat once held by Barbara Jordan.
Oh, it's a very serious moment in terms of our collective journey. For those that are not familiar with this, I initially got in the race. I was in the mayoral race, and Congresswoman Jackson Lee decided she wanted to come home and serve as mayor, and I made the pivot into the 18th Congressional District on Juneteenth of 23 and was the front runner then before she lost her bid for mayor and came back and reclaimed the seat. And so in that process, however, this has been a journey, but one in which I announced on Juneteenth because I want us to think about this as a collective journey. We have come a long way, but we have such a long way to go. And as we pass these torches, as we pass the baton forward, we've got to put somebody in place that is unafraid to fight for what's right, no matter what the consequences, because that has been the legacy of those past powerful leaders that you've described. But at the very same time, we've got to put someone in who is ready on day one for the fight of today. And this is actually the fight of our lifetime. I've never seen anything like this, where we've got this president that is completely willing to upend our democracy and fight against the rule of law, fight against healthcare, fight against our basic needs when it comes to education and economic opportunity. And so we've got to be in place with someone who is going to bring a fresh approach, a vision for how do we forge a path for the future, because it's not good enough just to respond and play defense. You've also got to continue to get wins for our community so that we can truly reach our full potential. And this is a special moment, a moment that brings both our history together, but also where our future is really depending on this. And I tell people all the time, my name is going to be on the ballot, but it's their future that is truly on this ballot. And that's what is at, really at stake at this moment.
Yep. You heard Amanda Edwards say earlier that they have deliberately kept this seat open in Texas for multiple months now. And so this district has not had a voice in Congress. But it's not just about that voice. No question about the fact that they need to be heard. But this is a strategy. Don't be stuck on stupid. A strategy to keep this seat open, and as we've discussed many other times, another strategy to not seat a particular elected member, so they can keep this vote total the way they want it inside the House. There is a new poll out today that suggested nearly half of Americans, nearly half, now blame Donald Trump and the GOP for this shutdown. We'll close with Amanda's thoughts on that and how Democrats are faring as we now push toward the longest shutdown in the history of this country. You're listening, and I'm glad about it, to Amanda Edwards, leading candidate for the Texas 18th Congressional District, right now on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Donald Trump has all but declared war on California, sending in the National Guard, blocking disaster relief, and cutting funds to our colleges. And now, he and Texas Republicans are trying to rig the next election by stealing congressional seats from black voters in states like Texas.
They want to rig these elections, and they want the power that gerrymandering provides.
Seriously, look it up. But Prop 50 is how we fight back. It gives Californians the power to fight fire with fire and beat Trump at his own game. Prop 50 creates temporary emergency congressional maps that level the playing field and protect the power of black votes. Not just in California, but across the country. Your vote matters, and the whole country is counting on California to lead. So use your vote to protect our power, our history, and our future. Vote yes on Prop 50 by November 4th. Ad paid for by Yes on 50, the Election Rigging Response Act, Governor Newsom's Ballot Measure Committee, Ad Committee's top funders, HMP for Prop 50, and Fund for Policy Reform.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
There is some breaking news while Amanda Edwards and I have been engaged in this conversation. The Trump administration has told the judge that it will partially fund SNAP benefits using contingency funds. The judge had given the administration until noon today Eastern time to share how it planned to comply with his order to fully or partially fund SNAP as the shutdown continues. And so there's a bit of good news. They have at least, if not seen the light, felt the heat, and have acknowledged that they will, in fact, partially fund SNAP benefits using these contingency funds. We'll talk more about this in depth with Joel Berg later in this program today. This breaking news, though, I want to get to you right quick here. Just got 3 minutes left here with Amanda Edwards. So, Amanda, I mentioned earlier, actually following your lead, that they kept this 18th congressional seat open deliberately. They have refused to seat Adelita Gravalia out of Arizona, so they can keep these numbers exactly where they want them until they're forced to do otherwise. But this poll suggests today that nearly half of Americans are now blaming Trump and the GOP for this shutdown. I think that's good news for Democrats. How do you read it?
You know, they need to place the blame where it lies, and that is with Republicans and Trump. Right now, you know, healthcare should not be some political chip in a game that's being played by our president. And it's precisely that. Making healthcare less affordable to Americans is unacceptable. And the Democrats have rightfully flagged that and said it's got to stop here and now. We cannot continue to go in the opposite direction that the community and the nation needs us to head. And so I believe that this is something that Trump and the Republicans have the ability to resolve, and it requires putting people over politics instead of just the politics as usual, particularly the toxic politics as usual. And, you know, to your breaking news as well, you know, the fact that I had to, over the weekend, was serving people fruits out of a food line because people didn't know what they were going to do in terms of SNAP benefits and the fact that they're not getting paid anymore to have their government jobs. I mean, this is really, really outrageous. And the fact that this is now the longest going government shutdown also is outrageous as well. So we've got to fight back and put we need to put responsible leadership back on the table, and this toxic politics, winner take all mentality that Trump is now utilizing has been more than destructive for this country. And so we've got to get back to it. And so healthcare needs to be provided and it needs to be affordable.
I got 45 seconds left here, Amanda. You sure you want to do this?
You know, Tavis, some people, when there's a burning building, it's right for them to run out and escape. And I think there are some people who are supposed to and designed to suit up and go in right and fight that fire. And I'm one of those people. I'm someone who is ready for the fight. I'm someone who has the grit, the tenacity, the perseverance, but also the ideas, the solutions, the experience that will be needed to fight in a really challenging moment such as this. Our nation, the future of our country, the future of our families, the future of our community, it depends on that. So we have got to put the leaders who are unafraid to go in at a moment that is definitely chaotic without question, but can bring some results back for our community despite all of this. That's what we have to bring in. That's the wave of leadership that needs to be voted into office at this moment, and that's why I'm asking the people of the 18th Congressional District to make me their next Congresswoman.
Native Houstonian, former at-large city council member, attorney, and founder of a community nonprofit, now running for the 18th Congressional District out of Texas, covers most good part of Houston. Again, a seat once held, in case you missed it, by Barbara Jordan and Mickey Leland and Sheila Jackson Lee and Sylvester Turner, and it could be Congresswoman Amanda Edwards. Good to have you on the program. All the best tomorrow. We'll talk to you afterwards, I hope.
All right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on.
My pleasure. Take care of yourself. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump is urging Senate Republicans to end the filibuster to break the government shutdown.
I think we should do the nuclear option. This is a totally different nuclear, by the way. It's called ending the filibuster.
In a 60 Minutes interview, he blamed Democrats for blocking votes and said he's ready to work on health care once the government reopens. President Trump is threatening military action against Nigeria over the killing of Christians. He halted all U.S. aid and ordered the Pentagon to prepare for a fast, vicious strike if the violence continues. Nigeria denies religious persecution claims. And Jabari Baby Huey Henley, son of music exec and alleged leader of the Rolling 60s Crips, Eugene Big U Henley Jr., was shot and killed outside a South LA smoke shop on Halloween night. LAPD says he approached a vehicle and was gunned down. The suspect fled and no arrests have been made. Jabari was 34. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Compassion sponsorship means food, healthcare, education, and most of all, being known, loved, and protected. There are thousands of kids waiting over a year. End their wait. Sponsor a child with compassion today. Text the word radio to 83393.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The city of Los Angeles is geared up to celebrate the Dodgers for the second straight year as World Series champions. A victory parade in downtown LA this morning will be followed by a rally at Dodger Stadium at 12:15. You must have a ticket to attend. A couple of final notes on the Dodgers. Their .203 batting average in the World Series is the lowest by a winning team in 59 years. The Baltimore Orioles batted only .200 to win the World Series in 1966. The Dodgers were also outscored by Toronto 34-26. Pitching does make a difference. It was a good day for both of LA's NFL teams. The Rams beat New Orleans 34-10. 4 touchdown passes for Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford, 2 to Devontae Adams. The Rams are 6-2. The Chargers beat Tennessee 27-20. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert had 250 yards passing, 57 yards rushing, and 2 touchdown passes. The Chargers are 6-3. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ready?
You're invited to the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair on Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Catch at Audubon Middle School in Lamert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Join us for a day of health, healing, and community connection. There will be health screenings, immunizations, wellness information, a Catch Charter School recruitment fair, plus music and healthy snacks. And it's all free at the KBLA Talk 1580 Community Health and Wellness Fair, Saturday, November 8th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Audubon Middle School in Lamert Park, 4120 11th Avenue. Come out and bring the entire family. And if you have not yet checked out our KBLA Health and Wellness Hub, you should at KBLA1580.com. KBLA Talk 1580 thanks Catch Charter School, Prudential, Eastside, Cedar Sinai, and St. John's Community Health. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that a healthy community is a thriving community.
That's right, baby.